Let's Learn Math, Filipino edition. So our topic for this day will be all about limits of a function. So we are given first with a function f. We say that the limit of f of x as x approaches the number a is L if the value of f of x gets arbitrarily close to L as x approaches a. In determining the limit of a function f, we are actually looking at the number at which f of x approaches as the value of x approaches the number a. For example, let us consider the function f of x equals x squared plus 1. Let's determine the limit of f of x as x approaches 2, meaning we want to determine what value f of x approaches as the value of x approaches 2. So we write it as limit as of the quantity x squared plus 1 as x approaches 2. Please put the grouping symbol here to avoid ambiguity, because if there's no grouping symbol, it will only mean that we are taking the limit of x squared as x approaches 2 and adding 1. So please put the grouping symbol. Now, to determine the limit of this function, let us look at the graph of f of x equals x squared plus 1. In GeoGebra, we have drawn the graph of f of x equals x squared plus 1. This is the pink parabola here. And note that our x approaches 2. So this is x equals to 2. And the function value of f when x is 2 is 5. Let's consider an x. Say this x here. X is 0.5 and its function value is something that is greater than 1. See what happens when the value of x approaches our number 2. So this is x. Let's move it near 2. We're moving it now. So observe that the value of f of x also increases. And what number does it approach? So as x approaches 2, it actually approaches what number? It approaches the value 5. When we consider a number x which is greater than 2 and we move it closer to our number 2, let's observe what value does f of x approaches. So observe the y value. So as x approaches 2, f of x goes near to what number? Goes near to 5. And the limit of f of x as x approaches 2 is equal to 5. Let us consider now the following example. We are interested in determining the limit of x squared minus 4 over x minus 2 as x approaches 2. Observe that the function value of our given function when x is equal to 2 is undefined, because if we substitute 2 here, we get 4 minus 4 over 2 minus 2, meaning we have a zero denominator, and that value does not. So let us now look at the graph of our function in GeoGebra. The graph of our given function is actually a straight line where there is a hole when x is equal to 2, because the function value when x is equal to 2 is undefined. Let us observe the function value at which f of x approaches when x approaches 2. So we move near to 2. So observe what happens. It goes very near to 4. So let's see what happens here. So we move closer to 2 and observe that the function value also moves closer to 4. Thus, the limit of our given function as x approaches 2 is equal to 4. Even if the function value at x equals 2 is undefined, the limit can still possibly exist. And in this case, it's equal to 4. The following are theorems on limits which we can use when solving limits algebraically. The first theorem talks about the limit of a function where our given function is a constant function. F of x equal to c, where c is a constant. So yung value ng limit natin will always be c, kahit ano pa yung i-approach ng ating x. Now, let us consider two functions. We are considering f and g. Observe that x approaches the same number a. If the limit of f as x approaches a is capital A and the limit of g as x approaches a is capital B, let us observe what happens to the following. First, let us observe what happens when we take the limit of c times f of x as x approaches a. Note here that c is a constant. So what we can do in solving for this limit is that we can already move c outside the limit. We write c and then take the limit of f of x na lang. And we know from the given that the limit of f of x as x approaches a is capital A. So we have c times a. Now, ano naman yung limit ng sum ng functions f and g as x approaches a? First, take the limit of f and then take the limit of g. Kunin mo muna yung limit ng f as x approaches a and then i-add mo sa limit ng g as x approaches a and we get a plus b. Ganon din yung mangyayari kapag minus ang kinonsider mo. So paano naman kapag product? Pwede mo rin siyang paghiwalayin. First, take the limit of f and then take the limit of g. And we have a times b. Kasi yung limit ng f as x approaches a is capital A and ang limit ng g as x approaches a is capital B. Ganon din sa division. Pwede mong take muna yung limit ng numerator and then take the limit of the denominator. And the limit is a over b provided that b is not equal to 0. Kasi kung b is equal to 0, possible na hindi na nag-i-exist yung limit. And here's another one. Kapag meron tayong nth root, pwede nating ipasok yung limit sa loob ng nth root and then take the limit of the function inside the root before taking the root. Pinasok natin yung limit and limit of f of x as x approaches small a is capital A. So the limit of this function now is the nth root of capital A, provided that nth root of a is defined or it exists.